In the shadowy corridors of Rome's Palatine Hill, whispers passed from slave to senator, of one empress whose tastes were as infamous as her beauty. Valeria Messalina, third wife of Emperor Claudius, wasn't just known for her political cunning or her manipulative rise through the ranks of imperial power. She was remembered, feared even, for the chambers she had constructed beneath the Domus Aurea, chambers known only to a secret inner circle as Cubiculum Flos, the flower room. The chamber was a masterpiece of sensual design, walls lined with lavender-scented silk, soft lamps of red gold flame flickering behind glass painted with erotic myths, and mosaic floors depicting gods and mortals entangled in pleasure. But what made it truly strange, even by Roman standards, was not the opulence, but the games played inside. Messalina was fascinated by the ancient Etruscan rites of fertility, practices whispered about in forbidden scrolls. She recreated them, not in temples, but with carefully selected courtesans, soldiers, and sometimes senators' sons, reenacting rituals that blended religion with pleasure, often requiring participants to wear masks representing gods like Bacchus, Priapus, and even female deities like Venus herself. According to one mute servant who served wine in those chambers, there was a specific rite called the cycle of the three moons. It involved a rotation of partners who had to perform under strict rules while blindfolded, with Messalina herself choosing who would ascend to the central platform, a carved marble slab believed to have been imported from a temple of Isis in Egypt. Strangest of all was her rule of silent climax. No one was allowed to speak, moan, or cry out. Any sound meant disqualification, and the offender would be exiled from her circle, or worse, forced to serve wine naked in the forum for a day. It was said the silence was a test of ultimate self-control, a spiritual offering to the gods of restraint. But others believed it was simply Messalina's way to assert total power, for in silence, she ruled completely. By the time the emperor discovered her secret entertainments, the chamber had vanished, collapsed in a sudden fire, some said, though others whispered it was buried intentionally by Messalina's own guards, along with those who knew too much. Long before Christianity took root, Rome was home to dozens of mystery cults, some state-sanctioned, others hidden deep within the underbelly of the empire. One such secret order operated in the Subura district, a clandestine sexual cult known as Cultus Septem Velorum, the cult of the Seven Veils. It began, or so legend said, as a Hellenistic fertility ritual imported from Syria. But in Rome, it evolved into something far stranger, something only the wealthiest and most daring elites dared whisper about. Unlike other cults that focused on a singular deity, this one worshipped seven personified veils, each representing a layer of forbidden sensual power, desire, shame, pain, pleasure, confusion, control, and finally, ecstasy. Initiation was a weeks-long process. Men and women of noble blood, senators' wives, poets, gladiators even, would enter the cult's underground sanctuary, blindfolded and clothed in translucent robes. Each session took place in a circular chamber illuminated by an odd greenish-blue glow from phosphorescent stones brought from Britannia. The ritual demanded that initiates shed each veil, metaphorically and literally, through an act tied to its name. For example, the veil of shame required the initiate to confess their most taboo fantasy to a masked stranger. The veil of pain was even more intense. It involved temporary sensory deprivation, followed by controlled stimulation. Using wax, leather, and cold marble implements. By the time they reached the final veil, ecstasy, initiates were no longer themselves. Their names were discarded, their pasts forgotten. The high priestess, always veiled, would choose one of them to merge with the god within her, in a performance that was less lovemaking and more a sacred, rhythmic trance. What made the practice uniquely strange by Roman standards was its reversal of gender roles. Men served, women ruled. The feminine was considered divine, while the masculine was symbolic of the chaotic flesh to be tamed. The cult grew powerful, too powerful. By the reign of Domitian, rumors spread that senators were being blackmailed through secrets revealed during the Seven Veils. Some claimed that even the emperor's own mistress had once led a rite. Fearing rebellion, the cult was outlawed and many of its members executed or exiled. But deep beneath the Temple of Vesta, archaeologists in the 19th century discovered a mosaic, partially preserved, depicting seven robed figures, one hand raised toward the stars, the other holding a broken mirror. Perhaps the cult never truly died. Perhaps, in the villas of Naples or the shadows of the Vatican archives, their veils are still being lifted. Not all Roman emperors were satisfied by mere conquest, coin, or ceremony. Some desired Symmetry. So begins the tale of Emperor Elagabalus, the boy ruler from the east whose reign, 218–222 CE, shocked even the most jaded Romans. Though his eccentricities were many, one of the strangest sexual customs he imposed was known in private circles as Gemini Hortus, the Garden of Twins. Nestled within the private walls of the imperial palace on the Palatine Hill, Elagabalus had constructed a living pleasure maze, a lush garden of roses, myrtles, and fig trees, filled not with statues, but with identical twins. Male and female twins, trained since childhood, brought from all corners of the empire, Gaul, Syria, Egypt, even Germania. These twins were not merely for display. They were trained in synchronized movement, twin music, twin dance, and, most famously whispered, twin union. The emperor believed symmetry was the purest form of beauty, and to engage in sensual acts with a pair who moved, breathed, and cried out as one was, to him, divine. His favorite set was said to be two Nubian brothers, dark-skinned and statuesque, who would stand like marble at either side of his bath. When summoned, they would perform a ritual called the Loop of Echoes, a silent choreography that ended with their mirrored entwinement around the emperor himself, responding to his every motion in perfect unison. But even more bizarre was the Mirror Games, where Elagabalus would lie behind a curtain, only watching reflections in water or polished bronze as the twins enacted a myth, always a myth involving forbidden love, Castor and Pollux, or Apollo and Hyacinthus, or even Venus with her own mirrored self. There were rumors he once tried to surgically alter a set of twins to become more identical, having their faces reshaped to match completely, a practice that led to fatal consequences and near revolt within the court physicians. The twins were not allowed to speak to outsiders. Their names were removed, their identity tied only to the emperor's desire. Some called them sacred, others said they were prisoners in paradise. After Elagabalus's assassination at just 18, the garden was dismantled. Many of the twins vanished, executed or sent to distant provinces. Some say a few escaped and carried their eerie synchronized dances to hidden villas of Sicily and Corsica, where even centuries later, locals spoke of ghosts who moved like mirrors.